Ravenclaw. File designation: the timeteller. Subject classification: unknowable. This is the official report on the extraction disaster. It began with a single, untraceable message. Ravenclaw's high command, their identities masked by digital ghosts and voice modulators, reached out to the Soviets. The request was simple, yet impossibly arrogant. We are taking custody of the entity you call the timeteller. On the other side of the transmission, the Soviet commanders laughed. But it wasn't a sound of mockery. It was a nervous, brittle laugh. The kind a person makes when they're staring into an abyss, trying to convince themselves it isn't staring back. The lead Soviet officer, his voice tight, replied, "You do not know what you are dealing with. He stays with us." The Ravenclaw leaders didn't argue. They didn't threaten. They didn't even raise their voices. One of them simply gave an order, calm and cold as a final winter. "Show them." Behind the distorted figures of the command council, shadows moved. The elite of the elite Ravenclaw's most formidable soldiers stepped into the light of the camera, clad in advanced, silent armor. Their eyes glowed with the cold, unfeeling light of machines. They didn't move. They didn't breathe. They just existed, a promise of absolute surgical violence. And for the first time, the Soviets stopped laughing. Their bravado evaporated, replaced first by curiosity, then a dawning, chilling concern. They looked at the soldiers, then at each other, and a silent consensus was reached. They agreed to the transfer. The Soviets prepared the entity for transport. When they descended into the deep, subterranean chamber where he was held, they found him already waiting. He didn't resist. In fact, he stood and began walking towards the exit before the guards even gave the command. It was as if he knew the script of this day better than they did. They placed him inside a containment cage forged from a single block of reinforced alloy. It was a perfect cube, seamless, windowless, and soundproof. The locks were external. Nothing inside could be manipulated. Dozens of heavily armed guards formed a perimeter around it, their rifles aimed, their faces grim. Inside, the timeteller simply sat down on the cold steel floor, folded his hands in his lap, and closed his eyes. Sensitive microphones were placed inside the cube, intended to capture his every word. He began to whisper something, but the audio feed registered nothing but dead air. His words were not for them. The steel cube was loaded onto a military transport plane bound for the United States. The guards assigned to the flight were given one order: watch the cage. Do not look away. Do not sleep. Do not even blink. For the entire duration of the transatlantic flight, they obeyed. They watched the silent, unmoving steel box, their nerves stretched to the breaking point, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Nothing did. There was no sound, no vibration, no sudden lurch or hint of an escape attempt. The flight was eerily smooth, a routine transport operation on paper. When the plane touched down on American soil, Ravenclaw's mission crew was already on the tarmac, waiting. They moved with practiced, inhuman efficiency. The cube was unloaded, secured onto a heavily reinforced transport truck, and driven under armed escort to Facility Slate 1, one of Ravenclaw's most secure black sites. Everything had gone according to plan. It was a flawless extraction, but the exact moment the reinforced bay doors of the facility slammed shut behind the truck, something changed. The air pressure across the entire facility dropped. Every scientist, every guard, every technician, from the deepest sublevel to the surface offices, reported the exact same sensation at the exact same instant. A sharp, sudden pain in their chest, as if the air itself had been violently sucked out of their lungs, collapsing inward. Later analysis would confirm this anomaly occurred at the precise second the plane's wheels made contact with the runway. With the truck secured in the containment bay, Ravenclaw personnel, clad in hazardous environment suits, moved to open the cage. They followed protocol to the letter, unlocking the heavy external bolts, disengaging the magnetic seals. The heavy door swung open with a hydraulic hiss, and they stared into an empty space. The cage was pristine. There were no signs of forced entry. The steel wasn't warped or melted. The locks hadn't been tampered with. It hadn't been opened mid-flight. The timeteller was simply gone. He hadn't escaped. He had ceased to be inside. Immediately, Ravenclaw Command initiated alert code Purple. This is the organization's highest level breach classification, reserved for events that defy known physics. Code Purple doesn't just mean an asset has escaped. It means something has escaped without escaping. Something moved without moving. Security footage was reviewed from every possible angle. The cameras on the plane showed the cage, sealed and undisturbed. The cameras on the truck showed the same. The facility's own extensive surveillance network showed nothing entering or leaving the containment bay. He was on every camera feed, inside the box, until the moment he wasn't. He was nowhere. He was everywhere. 7 minutes after Code Purple was declared, a frantic call came into Ravenclaw headquarters. It was a field agent, stationed hundreds of miles away from Facility Slate 1. His voice was trembling so badly it was almost incomprehensible. An entire town, he stammered. It's gone. Command asked for clarification. Destroyed. Burned. The agent struggled for words. No, he finally managed to say. Not destroyed. Just gone. Satellite imagery and drone reconnaissance confirmed his report, where the small, quiet town of Harmony Creek, Nebraska had stood just minutes before. There was now nothing but a perfect, circular field of flattened grass. Houses, streets, cars, trees, and every single one of its 1,200 residents all erased from existence. And in the exact center of this impossible circle of emptiness stood a single figure. It was one of Ravenclaw's own scientists, a man who had been part of the receiving team at Facility Slate 1. He was alive. He was conscious. He was trembling, and he was only a head. There was no body, no blood, no visible trauma. Husti's head resting on the grass, his eyes wide with a terror that no human was ever meant to experience. He was repeating a single sentence, over and over again, a chilling mantra of revelation. You brought him home. You brought him home. The final report is stark. No trace of the town or its inhabitants has ever been found. No trace of the timeteller. The scientist's head remains alive, sustained by forces beyond medical comprehension, showing no signs of bleeding or decay. It is kept in a specialized unit, its cryptic phrase the only sound it makes. Ravenclaw has sealed the incident from the world. Public records have been altered. Satellite data has been scrubbed. All search attempts lead to digital dead ends. But internally, within the highest echelons of the organization, the terrifying truth is understood. This was not a containment breach. This was not an escape. This was a relocation. The extraction mission didn't fail. It succeeded perfectly. The timeteller did not escape from Ravenclaw. He simply used them as his transportation service. He didn't escape. He arrived. Thank you for watching this entry from the Ravenclaw Files. If you want to uncover more forbidden truths, make sure to follow and subscribe. Stay vigilant.